It was a humid night in Manila. The sound of tricycles and the chatter of the streets echoed through the narrow alleys of Tondo, one of the poorest parts of the city. Inside a small wooden shack with holes in the roof and walls patched with old posters, a 14-year-old boy named Miguel Santos sat with his battered guitar. Its strings were uneven, and the body was cracked, but to Miguel it was treasure. He had found it in a pile of trash 3 years ago. It was broken, dirty, missing a string. But Miguel cleaned it, strung it with wires he found from old fans, and every night, he played under the dim light of a single candle. Music was his escape. He had lost his mother when he was just 8. His father, a jeepney driver, had fallen ill and could no longer work. Miguel spent his mornings selling sampagita flowers and bottled water near the bus terminal, and his nights singing quietly by the window, his voice soft, full of soul, carrying the pain and hope of a boy who refused to give up. Sometimes, neighbors gathered outside his shack just to listen. Even though life was hard, for those few moments, Miguel's voice made them forget the noise, the hunger, the sadness. But Miguel had one dream, a dream that felt impossible. He wanted to sing on America's Got Talent. He had seen videos on his friend's crack phone, while working at the terminal, people standing on that big stage, lights shining, crowds cheering. He imagined what it would feel like to sing there, to make people smile, to make his mother proud. One night, as he sang Hotel California softly to himself, a foreign tourist stopped to listen. The man, named David, was from California, visiting the Philippines on a volunteer trip. He was captivated not just by Miguel's voice, but by the emotion in it. It wasn't just a song, it was a story of struggle and soul. When Miguel finished, David clapped softly and said, "You have a gift, son. The world needs to hear you." Miguel smiled shyly. "Thank you, sir, but I'm just a poor boy. No one will listen to me." David looked at him and replied, "Don't ever say that. Talent has no address." The next few weeks changed Miguel's life. David recorded a short video of him singing Hotel California right there on the street, and posted it online. Within days, it went viral. Millions watched this barefoot boy with a broken guitar pour his heart into the song. Then came an email from the producers of America's Got Talent. They wanted Miguel to audition. He couldn't believe it. His father cried, holding his son tightly. The community came together. Neighbors sold baked goods, tricycle drivers pooled money, and even the local school organized a fundraiser. They all helped Miguel buy a plane ticket to America. It was more than a trip, it was a miracle born from kindness. When Miguel arrived in Los Angeles, he felt like he was dreaming. Everything was bright, loud, and fast. He barely spoke English, but he carried something that spoke louder: his music. On audition day, he stood backstage trembling. Around him were singers in expensive clothes, dancers with makeup and stylists. He looked down at his worn shoes, and whispered a prayer. When they called his name, Miguel Santos from the Philippines, he walked onto that grand stage, the lights blinding him. Simon Cowell looked up from the panel, curious. "Hello, Miguel. How old are you?" Miguel smiled nervously. "I'm 14, sir." "And what are you going to sing for us today?" Simon asked. Miguel held his guitar tightly. "Hotel California, it's my mother's favorite song." The audience quieted. The lights dimmed. And Miguel began. The first chords were gentle, almost fragile. Then his voice rose pure, soulful, full of pain and hope. It wasn't just a song anymore. It was his story, the story of a boy who had lost everything but still found music in his heart. The judges leaned forward. Simon's usual stern face softened. Heidi covered her mouth. Sophia's eyes welled up. Even Howie nodded slowly, feeling the emotion in every word. And when Miguel reached the final verse, "You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave," his voice cracked slightly, trembling with tears he could no longer hold back. The crowd stood. A standing ovation filled the theater. Miguel looked around in disbelief, clutching his chest. He whispered, "Thank you, Mama." Then, suddenly Heidi pressed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti burst into the air. Miguel froze, tears streaming down his face as the music swelled. Simon stood up, clapping slowly, genuinely moved. Heidi walked up to the stage and hugged him. "Your voice had touched my soul. You reminded us why we love music." Miguel sobbed, unable to speak. The audience chanted his name: Miguel. 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 Backstage, he called his father on video. The old man could barely hold the phone, crying as he said, "I told your mother you would sing for the world one day." The video of that audition became one of the most watched clips in AGT history, tens of millions of views in a week. Miguel didn't just win hearts, he inspired millions of poor kids who dreamed but never dared. He reminded the world that greatness can come from the humblest places, that a voice born in the slums can echo across nations. Months later, even though Miguel didn't win the final prize, he returned home to a hero's welcome. His community built a small music center in his honor so that children with dreams like his could have instruments, lessons, and hope. Miguel continued to sing, not for fame, but to give back, to bring light where there was once darkness. And every time he sang Hotel California, he looked up at the sky, smiled, and whispered,